Greetings.
Hello.
My greetings. Well met. Greetings, traveler. Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello and welcome to episode 271 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, December 17th. Is that the month? It's Thursday, December 17th in the evening. Joining you from snowy Gadgets and New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Karazhan, California, it's Bauticus.
From very slightly cold California, which to you is not cold at all.
Define
To
cold.
pretty much anybody is not cold at all.
Walk me through what you think cold is.
I mean, cold in the sense where I can put on a hoodie and I'm not sweating under it.
Okay. So like we're talking 60s?
Probably. I don't know.
Okay. I'm not here to judge.
All right. Weather, Ventura. Oh, wait. We're in the 50s. 59.
Goodness. I'm here for you, buddy. We'll keep each other warm by the light of the hearth. And from Undercity, Pennsylvania, it's Edelweiss.
Hey, it's also snowing here. Well, it's not actively snowing, but it did snow.
Yes. Probably the same storm if I had to guess, because we're not too far from each other. We got like a foot here. I don't know how much you got, but we got a lot.
Probably less than that.
Yeah.
But I'm still cold because I'm always cold. So I've got my sweatshirt under my zippered sweatshirt with leggings under my sweatpants and wool socks and my feet on a hot water bottle. So that's how I roll in winter.
You've got a plan.
I got
I'm impressed.
significantly less than a foot, by the way, in case you were wondering.
I
Significantly less than a foot of sno here.
but
Just in case.
about
the
12
space
inches
heater is
less.
next to me.
Approximately, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a space heater too?
Just in case, you know.
No, I do not have a heater. We just got the technology for a air conditioning unit. No space heater. Although technically, my house does have a heater, so I could turn that on.
So
But I have this blanket too, and this blanket does similar things to a heater and doesn't cost as much money.
you know, I wasn't expecting this much temperature talk. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot to talk about this week, so gotta make sure
Yeah.
we fill the spaces with.
Listen, it's normal to talk about weather and temperatures. Didn't expect to talk about it to this degree. Huh? Huh? Hey, you get it?
So anyway, this week in Hearthstone,
so,
how
okay.
are we all doing?
So,
how was everybody?
Wait, I have to thank the listener. We haven't even thanked the listeners yet. We're going so far off the rails. Concede is directly supported by you, listener, and I hope you don't change your mind after that recent intro. If you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards in return, head to patreon.com/Concede. You can also support us by leaving an iTunes review. Totally free, really helps other people find the show. We got a ton of iTunes reviews in the past 2 weeks. So whoever's been leaving the reviews, thank you so much. We'll read out your names in the next bonus episode. We try and save everything for that, but I noticed that we got like 6 reviews in the past couple weeks, so thank you so much, everyone that's been so kind. And thanks to our newest patron, Tom L. Tom, thank you so much for your support of the show. All right, this week in Life and Ladder. Bauticus, you know I have to go to you first. You know I have to do it.
So, it's an interesting story. So as I mentioned last week, I resubbed to WoW. Honestly, haven't put almost any time into it because I've been playing it, and the leveling process I'm not super invested, and it didn't save any of my old stuff. So having to redo my UI is a gigantic chore that I don't want to really do. And remembering how to play is difficult when you haven't played in over a year. So haven't put a lot of time into that. And Path of Exile had a really cool event, but it was only for a week, and then your character essentially gets deleted after. So I put some time into it and then realized that more time invested kind of means nothing because it just gets deleted after a week. So I didn't really feel like investing a lot of time in there. And so what that left me with was some time to play Hearthstone. And it just so happens that there is a good class. There's a class that I very much enjoy playing, and that's Rogue. and you get to play Edwin, and you get to play Fox, and you get to play Whirl Kickmaster. And man, that deck is fun, and it was fun enough that I actually put enough time in and hit Legend for the first time in quite a while. Yeah, it's been deck's really good. And once I realized that you're supposed to Shadow Step the Whirl Kickmaster if you're not dead, instead of Shadow Stepping the combo piece and getting one extra card, everything got a lot easier, and I won more. Even though before I knew that, I had a nice little 9-game win streak or something that I was enjoying. So yeah, hit Legend with that. Played quite a bit of BGs too. I like the new BG system that we'll talk a bit about in the news section. But yeah, Rogue is good. Rogue is fun, and been enjoying that.
Yeah. Congratulations. Welcome back. I agree that deck is super duper fun, and there's
And I came in at a reasonable Legend rank too, so
yeah. Your MMR is high. You
It
don't
was-
really decay very much.
right. So it was good to see that I got Legend playing against mostly fairly good players. Although I did have a weird thing when I think it was like one of the first times, because I ping ponged around between 1 and 2 for a while, but I hit 1 and then I played against like Cthulhu Rogue, Cthulhu Mage, and then Cthulhu Demon Hunter or something
Wait, what?
in a row. Yeah, it was weird. Crash was spectating me and was wondering, and I think I lost my first final boss, and then went all the way back down to 2, and then kind of struggled a bit to get back up. But yeah, I mean, deck's just really good. It's got it does all of the rogue things I enjoy doing, instead of the things that Hat enjoys doing, which involves lots more cold bloods and damage to the face immediately. Which this deck does. You definitely do that, and I beat my. I should actually post the replay of the final boss that got me to Legend, because the screenshot I posted, I think I had no cards in hand, no cards in deck, and my opponent exploded. But actually, I had like 9 cards in hand. It was just I had to exactly swindle to my last. My last 2 spells were Eviscerate and the second Draw 4.
Secret Passage?
Secret Passage. And so like my mana worked out perfectly, where no matter whether I got the Eviscerate or the Secret Passage, I would get to my last cards for exact lethal. So ended that game with a lot of 5 mana 2/5s in hand. Had a lot of 5 mana 2/5s. That kind of got stuck there. Those tend to stick there.
Oh, the apothecaries. Yeah, it's the combo pool was really helped a lot by Prize Plunder. Just like having Prize Plunder as a card that you can generate when you chain those, it's insane. So good.
I mean, Prize Plunderer, the mage,
Wand
minion,
Thief.
Wand Thief,
Yeah.
and the
Brain
mage
freeze is pretty good
spell.
too.
Yeah, those 3 made the combo pool kind of insane. And as long as you don't hit the 5 mana 2/5 and the 6 mana 5/3, then all of those other ones are good. All of those other ones are real good.
Yeah, there are some questionable ones, but I won a bunch of game with head cracks. Like head crack will get you there sometimes. You'll crack a head.
I mean, my final boss that I got to Legend with was a warrior that gained over 40 armor, I want to say. I think it was around 40 armor, but I had double head crack going, and that plus just a ton of generation of cards was enough to get there.
Pretty sweet. Welcome back.
It was sweet.
Edelweiss, how about you? How's life and ladder?
Well, I was the villain on ladder because I looked at the world's lineups and I was like, okay, so Bomb Warrior if I want to hit Legend, and so I played Bomb Warrior and I hit Legend. Nayato would be proud, the Bomb Queen. It felt kind of gross. Like it definitely doesn't have the armor gain potential because there's no Bloodsworns, right? So your skippers are actually like a little difficult to use. You don't have a ton of activators since it's just like skipper, armor smith. If you try and use a sword eater, that's 4 mana. So it's really got to be either the evil quartermaster or the lackey off of the evil quartermaster. So you kind of got to preserve some stuff to go with the skipper. But Minefield is great. Bladestorm, Brawl's pretty good. You know, you
Was
just
this
get to
before or after nerfs that you were jamming?
both.
Okay. I'm just wondering how your matchup is against like all of the paladins and
I
shamans
mean,
that I started seeing.
so like Paladin can be tricky, and obviously Shaman if they go off fast enough is very difficult. I suppose it's probably, I don't know, maybe a little less good now, but a lot of decks still fold to just getting hit in the face a lot and shuffling bombs in repeatedly. So as long as you can keep the board clear, it still seems pretty good.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of questions about this meta because we know kind of early impressions and we know what people think is the best right now. And we'll talk about it pretty extensively in the news. But the deck that defined the format went from Demon Hunter to Shaman pretty quickly because of the nerfs. And so,
Surprise.
yeah, a format that's built around beating Shaman is gonna have different decks that are viable. And so what we've seen be good is going to shift based around the idea that you have to beat Shaman no matter what, as opposed to you have to beat Demon Hunter no matter what. We'll talk about that rather extensively, but it does feel like the format is still rather young because of that. And I will tell you that trying to figure out conquest lineups tonight for THL was impossible because there is no good fourth deck. There are 3 classes you actually want to play, and there is no good fourth deck. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next week. There are developments that are happening, but nobody has really any clear idea other than Shaman's good, Rogue's good, Warrior's probably good, and Paladin might be good.
I was honestly surprised to see the Warrior stats.
They don't look good right now.
They really don't, and I'm wondering why. Like
Evolve
I
Shaman
didn't
beats
think
it.
that. Yeah, I guess I didn't think that aggro Demon Hunter was so much of the like piece of the puzzle that you're beating. I felt like you got a fair number of wins with the ETC stuff, but I suppose if you are not so great against Shaman, that would be pretty rough right now.
Yeah, it's the things that were holding back Shaman were aggro Demon Hunter and Highlander Hunter, and well, yeah. So, anyways, we'll talk about that. As for me, I have some life stuff and some ladder stuff. As far as ladder,
I have life stuff.
oh, tell your life stuff. Okay, go, keep going. This is your opportunity.
Just very quickly, to de-stress and kind of chill out, I've been playing Breath of the Wild again because it was on sale. So I'm playing not emulated this time, so I feel good about myself. And speedrunners came up with a whole bunch of techniques since I was playing before, or maybe they were around before. I don't know. They're new to me, and so I've been practicing some of the stuff like bomb impact jumping, where you drop a round bomb, go into bullet time with your bow by just tapping it, and then you drop a square bomb, and then you set off the round bomb, and it launches the square one at your back, like plummeting you forward, so that when you paraglide, you have this this wind, and it lets you like fly much further distances.
Yeah, you do those crazy like you basically surf the air across half the map.
Yeah. And then you can also, there's a thing where you jump on top of a monster's head, and right before you hit it, you enter bullet time by tapping the bow button again, and you shield surf so that your shield surf hits the top of their head, and some weird interaction being in bullet time lets you again just like fly across the map. It's absurd.
The game is super broken in a speedrunning capacity, so yeah, people are definitely taking advantage of that. So yeah, I mean that's a fun and chill game. I like that game. I realize I never changed my camera settings. We're gonna go like this. Go like this. There we go. Okay, it looks about the same. Fine.
I'm getting a little warmer. Jeez.
So as for me, got some life stuff and some ladder stuff. As far as ladder stuff, I managed to prove that I deserve to keep my double 11x by hitting double legend. I think I was already in legend last week in standard, so I just I'll just get there in wild because I didn't bother last month. And so I played a bunch of everything. Tried some Reno Secret Mage, didn't like it. Just played some Turbo Druid for a bit just to get up to the diamond ranks, and then played the Vicious Syndicate discard zoo lists. Deck is fun. I won on turn 3 against a druid because they went turn 1 biology project against me. Turn 1 bio project hero power pass. You can't do that. You can't do that. So
Yep. Bio Project's not for that. Bio Project is like an innervate that also boosts you next turn.
I agree with you, but instead I went Conrathod do stuff. Into the next turn, I played Doomguard. And then they died the turn after that. So, yeah, I agree. Well, it wasn't what my opponent was supposed to do, but I was glad they did it as their opponent. So yeah, got my double legend.
Turn 2 Doomguard?
Yeah, because it was 4 mana and they gave me 2, and so yeah. And the Conrathod, yeah. So, really fun, good deck. Wild's kind of in a rough spot right now, a little bit. Their Reno Priest is kind of super dominant. Big Priest is really good. Secret Mage is good, and there are a couple good Warlocks, and there's not really anything that beats any number of those consistently. Yeah, I played it because I wanted to get there, and because I was chilling on standard till the nerfs hit, but the format's could use a little nudge, but we'll see if they actually do that. I did play more standard as well. Tried some stuff. I've been enjoying Rogue, but to prove Botticus's point, our friend Donkey has been working on a lower curve, more aggressive version of Combo Rogue, and so we include, instead of a lot of the combo-y cards, instead of the questing adventurers, we play Defias Ringleader. Yes, Defias Ringleader. And against a shaman, by the way, I went turn 1 coin Defias, step Defias. That's 6. That's a 2/2 and 2/2/1. So that was very good. We also play Hooked Scimitar and Wriggling Horror. I'm pretty sure Donkey is trying to put Wriggling Horror into every single deck in the format because it's really strong. And
yeah, that sounds just like a smart thing to do.
It is. And I will tell you that coin Defias, step Defias into Wriggling Horror was a lot of damage. And my opponent did not survive despite revolving into Bogspine Knuckles. They didn't get there. And, yeah. So, code for that's in the show notes. Punching people in the face is fun. I still like the combo goofy rogue stuff, and I enjoyed that, and I played a bunch of that. But also, if you want to win in the Evolve Shaman meta, you kind of have to go low to the ground and punch people. So that's what I did. As far as...
If you're not picking Potion of Illusion, by the way, if you don't want to pick that card in your rogue deck, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
That's what sold me, is I picked a Potion of Illusion in one of my first games with the rogue deck. I'm like, all right, this is what I want to be doing. None of this Defias Ringleader get you with minions stuff on turn 4.
But I want to get them.
I got Potion of Illusion on 4 when my opponent had like Pharaoh Cat, Wand Thief, Hanar, and something. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the next one.
Yes, the value is too much.
Still don't like Pharaoh Cat, by the way. I got 1 Restless Mummy and a lot of Colossus of the Moon and a lot of
generous mummies.
3-drop. Yeah, a lot of generous mummies and not a lot of restless mummies. I wanted more restless mummies.
Yeah,
that card would be good if I just got a lot of restless mummies.
Try getting Shotbot, by the way. Big fan of getting Shotbot on 2.
Yeah, that one's good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-drops were good. Would have been good had I gotten more of those, but no, just lots of 7 and 10 drops and 3-drops that make you lose the game when you play them.
Yeah. Oh, and I was doing a co-op with Viriatus yesterday, and we were against an Evolve Shaman, and we lackied into Plague of Madness. Let me tell you, breaking their weapon with Plague of Madness, very enjoyable. We very much enjoyed that. Because Rogue can just do rogue things. Rogue things are great. So as life stuff, kind of a large week for me. I determined, given just how the state of the world was going and how I was feeling, that it was time for me to make some big changes in my life. So, started on some antidepressant medication, and that means I've taken a step back from alcohol as well. So, reprogramming my brain. If I'm a little out of it this episode, please forgive me, because that's been a process. But everyone's been really, really supportive. Um, you know, just I post a little bit, and I want to make sure I normalize the idea that a lot of people are struggling right now. It's a pretty normal thing, but it was getting to the point where I was kind of feeling unstable, and so I decided to do something about it. So, pursuing that, it's, this year has been a year. It's been a year. But it's also been a big year for Hearthstone, and we're not done with the news, and we've got quite a bit to talk about here. So why don't we jump right in, talk about 19.2.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
All right, so huge patch, gigantic patch, came out on Tuesday. I guess we'll start out with the first thing in the patch notes, which was a humongous battleground updates. I think something we were all kind of wondering, at least everybody who spent a good amount of time in battlegrounds, was how they were going to make battlegrounds feel fresh again, how they could make it feel different other than just adding more minions. And so what they did is they added Dark Moon prizes, which is a very unique and interesting idea that I'll admit I was pretty skeptical about when I first saw it, probably because didn't really understand how it worked, because it says prize turn 1. I thought you just got this prize on turn 1, and then you got the next set of prizes on turn 2, and the next set of prizes on turn 3. But the way the mechanic actually works is I believe it puts, essentially every turn it puts a card into your deck, which you don't have a deck in Battlegrounds, but it essentially puts a card into your deck, and when you have 3 cards in your deck, then you discover one of the prizes. So essentially it's putting 3 prizes into your deck, then you get to discover one, put it in your hand, and then you can use it whenever it's most convenient for you.
It's the turn
Usually
after that you
that's
discover.
right away.
Yeah, so there are 3 cards in deck, and then the
Turn
next turn.
4, I guess.
Yeah, turn 4.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, so you wait a little while in between each of these prizes. Those prizes steadily get more powerful and more powerful as you go on. And I was worried about the balance issue, because stuff like this is generally very, very difficult to balance, but so far it's actually just felt pretty good. I've played quite a few Battlegrounds, and all the prizes feel relatively close. There are ones that I tend to go for more often than others, but I think overall it's a very interesting system and leads to definitely a lot more variety in your gameplay. Not necessarily, it doesn't make Battlegrounds feel totally different, but it definitely adds a bit of spice to it that I've really enjoyed. Edelweiss, I know you don't really play a ton of Battlegrounds, but have you gotten the chance to dive in a couple? Or if you've got the chance to watch anybody or play any Battlegrounds, I'm also interested to hear your thoughts on the prizes, Edelweiss.
I have not. I confess.
No, that's fine. I know it's not necessarily the mode for you, so
I have
just
seen people posting on Twitter, and I listened to the Angry Chicken, and that was pretty much my exposure to the Battlegrounds changes.
Yeah, so I actually consume a good bit of Battlegrounds content. I watch Dog, basically his YouTube video. I watch it every day. Like whatever he puts out, I usually put that on when I'm in bed. Like that's kind of my wind down ritual for the day. I'll throw one video and I'll watch the end of the BG, and then for the next one, when I actually want to fall asleep, then I put on Crip's video. And usually I'm out like a light. Even though I do like Crip's content, I do like it, but it's just so soothing, you know. But Dog, he does crazy things, and see all this Khadgar brand transitions, whatever. But also this patch looked fun. I had hit my double legend, and BG is a mode that now I have made peace with being kind of bad at it, because it's just so overwhelming, and they did the rating reset. I'm like, you know what? I'm on my couch, chilling. Let's play some BGs. And I was also skeptical of the Dark Moon prizes, because it seems like BG was the mode where they experimented with things that were questionable. It feels really fun. It's really good. It just it actually smooths out the variant a little bit. It feels like because you get more chances to see more things, and it makes gameplay more varied because you have some level of choice, but also you can get a really powerful treasure. But none of them seem like they're really super game breaking at any given time. Though the one that I picked pretty early was you see one more minion in the tavern every turn. That one feels pretty powerful. That feels pretty insane.
Yeah, it's weird because you have the ones that are immediate effects that help you get to the late game easier, but then you also have the ones like I've seen the one a couple times, which is all minions in Bob's Tavern get +1 health for the rest of the game,
Yeah.
which also is just like, I mean, you're essentially getting stats. It's just like a ton of stats because you're going to be buying a lot of minions, even though you end up selling a good portion of them.
Yeah.
It's hard. I definitely I've taken both of those, both of the +1 health and the extra minion in Bob's Tavern, and yeah, there's just a lot of good ones. And then every once in a while, I had like a Rafam game where I happened to already have 7 minions or something, and I got the give all your minions +1/+1, and I just like sailed straight into the late game because my board was better than everybody else's right away for multiple turns in a row.
Yeah. There are definitely still some power spikes, right? Like there are definitely still some points where people get big boards and it feels like the games are still a little on the faster side, but I like this patch a lot more than the last one. And the new minions they added, which we haven't talked about yet as well, I think are generally good and they seem designed to slow the game down a little bit as opposed to speed it up. Because they're all very defensive and based around the taunt mechanic, and they're really fun so far. I don't know if they're good, but they're fun.
Yeah, the new minions seem pretty. I don't know. They're almost sneaky powerful. I didn't really think about them too hard, and then I saw some in play, and I realized just kind of how good they were.
Yeah.
But I guess we can move on to what they added. Speaking of minions, they also added some new heroes. So we have Cthulhu that has a hero power to at the end of your turn give a minion +1/+1 for 2 gold, but every time you use it, it gives it another, it repeats an additional time. So first time it's +1/+1, then +2/+2, +3/+3, and so on. This seems to be the front runner right now for the best of these, um, which all of them seem pretty middling to me. I just played a Cthulhu run right before the podcast, and I could see how it would be good if I knew if I'm just supposed to start hero powering at the very start of the game or if I'm supposed to try to follow a similar leveling pattern. But that's definitely one that's going to take a while to get used to. And then you have Nazoth, which gives you a 1/1 at the start of the game that whenever one of your death rattles dies, it gains the minion gains that death rattle. So you can stack some death rattles and get a bunch of extra triggers. And then the last one is Yasharaj. Yeah, how do you say it? You say it, Edelweiss. Everybody likes when you say it.
God. Yasharaj.
Yeah,
Oh, that was
one.
actually a bad one.
That has a 2 mana hero power to add a minion from your tavern tier to your warband, and then afterwards you get to keep it. I thought this one would have been powerful, but then does it let you have 8 minions?
No.
Do you get to have a full board? So you have to run 7 minions the whole time until you stop using the hero power?
This is
Yeah, it falls off. My understanding is it doesn't do anything if you have a full board, so it's kind of
what we're talking about. Yasharaj?
gives you
Yeah.
what
Power
right?
level to 6.
Yeah.
You want to level to 6, and then you press the button and keep getting 6 drops.
I guess, but like you don't get battle cries or anything, so
Well,
I
it
feel like
adds it to your
extremely
hand,
varied.
right?
No, it keeps it on
Oh
the
no, it
board.
just adds it to your
No,
warband.
Yeah.
so that's why I think it's not as
Oh.
good as it could be. If it said like it gains death rattle, add this to your hand, that would be amazing. But at just keep it, that means say you're on Tavern Tier 4 and you get the Toxfin. Well, that's terrible, right? And I think there's a number of Tier 6 minions that it would similarly be underwhelming, like
That's mostly just
Amalgadon.
Amalgadon. I think that's the only battle cry on tier 6.
You basically have to just like get to 6 and then start tripling 6 drops, which seems pretty unlikely. And it's really hard to compete with boards when you're running like 6 minions to 7 is really difficult unless you're running pirate combo.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
supposed to
you
run
get
on
the
6
7th at the start of
minions.
combat. Like it's 7 on 7, right?
Yeah, but it's like an underpowered 7th, right?
Maybe. I mean, you
It's
don't
it's
know.
a,
It's
doesn't-
it's an
random.
unreliable 7th,
Yeah,
right?
right.
I think there's situations in build where it could be fine, but it's sort of it's pretty good earlier on because you get just a cheaper extra minion, right? So your turn where you have the 5 gold, you get to just buy a thing and then hero power, and that's
Yeah.
pretty powerful.
It's a Yogg where you're more likely to get better minions, I think. But the
I
stat
think
boost doesn't
so,
matter
yeah.
quite as much. But the
Yeah.
games where I've seen it be successful, you want to use this on 6, and you want to use it to fill in your levels, right? Because if you're leveling on 8 gold, if you're leveling and pressing the button, and you're getting a tier 3, you're probably going to be happier with that than whatever you were going to buy, because then you get to level a turn earlier. So it's definitely one where you want to leverage that as kind of a scuffed Yogg, and then also if you manage to get to 6, you're pretty happy, especially if you're on dragons. Dragons is definitely where you want to be if you're on 6. If you can pull Nadina,
Mhm.
Caligos, or the new 6 drop actually, Elistra. She's awesome.
That card is really good.
She's
I got
awesome.
destroyed by somebody who had 2 of those, and then the 2/3 that whenever it gets attacked, the minions on the side get +1/+1.
Yeah, it still triggers.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
still triggers, and then I got destroyed by it.
I won my
So-
first game of the new patch on 0 rating by tripling into an early Light Fang, and then as Ragnaros, and then I ended up with I had something huge on the left, I forget, but then I got Elistra on the right as Ragnaros. And let me tell you, growing Elistra every turn, big fan. Would recommend. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, card's just really good at shutting down strategies that require you to attack specific minions, I guess, because it just kind of eats a bunch of like early divine shields and stuff that are you like that normally go towards your taunts, and it's also just like a pretty big minion with lots of stats for
Yep.
without even having to upgrade it. So
Yeah.
hero pool updates. So Galakron got removed because it was too broken and too powerful, so they took it out for now. Yeah, it was not good enough with a 1 mana hero power and broken with a 0 mana hero power. So it's gone. Sir Finley's back, which means that they fixed the great Akazamzarak, because Akazamzarak is now back, and competitive spirit has been added back to the secret pool, so you can no longer do the permanent ice block trick.
For people unaware, they had 8 secrets in the pool, and then they reduced it to 7, and that meant if you just skipped your first 4 turns and put a secret up, then the only 3 secrets left in the pool would always include an ice block, so you just ice block every turn for the rest of the game. It was
Yeah, and you just don't have any minions, so that nothing can proc.
it's at least a guaranteed second, and you can just keep going as long as you want to go. So
Well, you could. You can't
Yeah.
do it anymore because it was broken.
yes,
So thankfully. And then Silas Darkmoon. So after turn 1, you have a significantly increased chance of getting tickets, which is a needed buff, but we'll see if it's good enough. In addition to that, we have a bunch of hero power, or a bunch of changes, or just a couple changes, it looks like. Zephyrus went from 4 mana down to 3 mana, and Patches went from 4 mana down to 3 mana. Just little buffs to really cool heroes that needed a little bit of a boost to become more viable. And then, as we were talking about earlier, a bunch of new minions got added. So we have, I don't want to go through all of them because it's a ton of them, but basically they added, instead of adding a new minion type, they just added taunt minions, and a bunch of taunt minions and a bunch of good ones, or minions that care about taunt. They don't necessarily all have taunt, but you got some new taunt minions. You have a new minion that Death Rattle adds a gold coin to your hand, which was very powerful for me in the game that I got to play it.
it's good with N'Zoth.
They added a bit of power to demons. They added a new, somewhat powerful or not necessarily a powerful demon, but just something to kind of help out that archetype since demons have been struggling for a bit. And then what else?
Yeah,
like we were
there's
talking
a
about.
menagerie minion, Mithrax.
Yeah, there's a menagerie minion, which is okay. And then Elistra. Is that how you say it? Elistra is the new 6-drop. It's very powerful. It's a 7/7 that everything has to attack it. So you know exactly what's getting attacked.
Well,
every turn.
if a taunt is attacked, it attacks this thing instead. This
Oh.
has super taunt. So if you attack a
Okay.
taunt, you attack this instead. But if you don't have any taunts, it's just a 7/7 Divine Shield Reborn.
So I noticed something that's like kind of clever, but also could be frustrating if people have issues with these cards. Vast majority, or I guess all but the stuff to help demons. So all but one of these minions are tribalists.
Yeah, it's a neutral tribe.
Because taunt isn't actually a tribe. So it's not like, oh, they're always in and until the event's done, and then the tribe will go into the regular rotation. They're just always in. So it's kind of neat because they get to add the new cards and have them always be there without messing with the tribe pool. But it could also be kind of awkward down the line if people get tired of these minions and they're just always there because they'll never rotate out. Because people like got tired of pirates and got tired of elementals because they were always in the pool. Well, these are just going to be in the pool all the time, no matter what.
Well, people got tired of forcing pirates when they were bad, which was the entire time. But yeah, it's. I mean, neutrals are powerful, right? Like you can say the same thing about Bran or Rivendare or Lightfang Enforcer. And I think that if you generally look at these cards, outside of maybe Faceless Tavern Goer, which is very strong, it's a 5-star that copies a minion in the shop when you play it. Outside of that, they're on the weaker side. Like Elstra is a nice curve top or whatever, but I don't think it is metagame defining. And I think they probably aimed a little low with these minions on purpose. Because you can kind of graph them into any archetype, but if you build mono taunt, you're gonna lose to most things.
It just doesn't. It's one of those archetypes that doesn't scale real well, and it also kind of reduces the power level of all the tribal archetypes a little bit, just because
dilutes the pool.
Yeah, it just dilutes the pool. But they did remove 3.5 neutral minions. They removed Righteous Protector, Crowd Favorite, and Shifter Xeris, and then
I didn't realize they removed Righteous Protector.
That's important.
And then they also removed the Beast, which I consider to be a half of a neutral minion because that didn't get used in any comps anyway. So you only put it in your comp and then removed it because you didn't want to put any investment into your beasts because it gets sold pretty early. But yeah, it was a bunch of lots of Battlegrounds changes. Really excited to see. Mainly just the Dark Moon Fair prizes. I'm really thrilled that they added this because it means that they're really thinking outside the box with what they can do to Battlegrounds to keep it fresh and interesting. And while I was skeptical, I was proven wrong because so far I really like the mechanic, and I haven't felt like, oh man, my opponent got this prize, so now I can't win. It feels like everybody's going to get something that will appreciably affect your game in a positive manner, and nothing feels overly broken where it's like I can't win because my opponent got this treasure or whatever.
I'm not gonna lie, when this patch came out, immediately skipped over all the Battleground stuff to go to the card changes. But now that I've actually kind of taken a look at things, I'll probably play a couple games just to feel it out. I do like Soul Juggler Demons, and that looks like it got a boost, so could be fun.
Yeah, and I do like the demon card rewards you for summoning demons in combat. So you can get value out of Imp Gang Boss or Imp Prisoner or whatever. And Imp Prisoner was already pretty good. And Void Lord is also really nice here.
Because it always felt awkward going the Wrath Weaver and the 4-cost demon.
Floating Watcher, yeah. It wasn't
Floating
awkward when that was a
Watcher,
3-star demon, let me
and
tell you.
well,
Let me tell you it was
so
good then.
I mean, I always thought it felt awkward to do those alongside the Soul Juggler comp because they're two very different builds of demons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... I'm glad that they are kind of building a bridge unit here that's kind of okay for both.
Yeah.
But also, just anyone that hasn't played BGs in a little while, I recommend this patch. I had a good time not having a lot of pre-existing knowledge and experience. I don't play BGs much these days, but I jumped in knowing very little, not really having looked closely at the cards. Had a really good time playing. I definitely recommend just give it a shot. The spells add a good element to it that I wasn't expecting to have as much depth and value as it does.
But, I mean, speaking of skipping all the Battlegrounds updates, which I definitely also kind of did, I skimmed them very quickly because I wanted to see what the standard balance updates would be, and they are large and there's a lot of them. And
There's a lot of green.
a lot of them are targeted at Demon Hunter. So first one, Blade Dance now costs 3 up from 2. Shatter Shard Mystic cost 4 up from 3. Deathlord's Bite lost 1 attack, so it is now a 2/2 weapon instead of a 3/2 weapon. I'm going to skip that one because we're still kind of talking about Demon Hunter mostly, which is Voracious Reader went from 2 to 3 cost. Lorekeeper Pole Celt went from 4 cost to 5 cost.
Called it.
Then the last update to not a Demon Hunter, but still has Hunter in the name, which is Dino Tamer Brand, went from 7 cost to 8 cost.
Can we talk about this
That
one
was
first?
nice.
Can we talk about that one first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Are either of you confused by this? By
Yeah, a
A
Brand?
little bit.
Okay.
I understand the train of thought that, okay, Highlander Hunter always gets a boost whenever the meta shifts, right? Like I think we've seen pretty routinely when nerfs happen, Highlander Hunter shoots to the top. But at the same time, I've never felt like it has stayed at the top for a ton of time. So I would have been okay with not making that adjustment. Now it's only a 1 mana discount off of King Crush for being Highlander, which I don't know. Like, okay.
I mean, Zeph is really good. Zeph's a really good card.
Hunter always feels like the class that is very good that nobody wants to play. In my opinion,
That
it
is
just has
accurate.
always felt like Hunter has always had a positive win almost always had a positive win percentage, and unless it's Cube Hunter, people aren't playing it. It's like you see some every once in a while. There definitely are people playing it, but I've never felt like Highlander Hunter took up a majority of the meta, even when it might have been the best deck in the format. It just feels like a deck that, I might be incorrect in assessing this, but it feels like a deck that high level players don't feel like they have enough agency over, which obviously every deck has there's a ton of play to it and there's a ton of stuff you can do. But whenever I've played a deck like Highlander Hunter, I haven't felt like I had as much agency as other decks, allowing me to outplay my opponents. So even if it's theoretically a more powerful deck than other decks, the ability to have a bit of control over your games, or at least what feels more like control over your games, is always going to lend myself to want to stray away from a deck like Highlander Hunter. That might be an incorrect analysis of the situation, but I always felt like when Dino Tamer Brand comes down on turn 7, it's felt very brutal. And maybe it's supposed to be because it's a somewhat big cost to be playing Highlander with a deck like Hunter, but
has it really been
I'm
a big
not
cost?
super surprised.
Has it really been a big cost?
Not really. I mean, the decks that would play a card like Dino Tamer Brand, it's not a huge cost, right? Whereas like the decks where it is a big cost to be Highlander, you don't want to be playing a card like Dino Tamer Bran even at 7 mana anyway, if that makes sense.
Since Saviors of Uldum was released, has there been a meta where Highlander Hunter was not viable?
I don't think so.
Has there been a meta where Highlander Hunter has not been tier 2 or higher?
No.
Has there been... How many metas of those has Highlander Hunter been tier 1? I think like 4.
I think also for a week or two post patch, like every time.
And then people stop playing it because it's still just the same Highlander Hunter deck?
Yeah.
But it's... So, Ixar actually made a tweet about this. Highlander Hunter is not polarizing. I'm not going to say like it is fair. I'm going to say it feels fair. It is a straightforward, aggressive, or mid-range deck that happens to hit you with the dinosaur sometimes. But it's just damage and threats on curve. And sometimes sometimes in Ashes, they had the Rot Nest on 5, and you got blown out. Sometimes sometimes they have the Zeph, whatever. But Highlander Hunter has, since they printed Bran, it's been good enough to be a high-tier deck for a year and a half. It's fine to nerf it. It's okay. You're getting your dust back for a legendary 3 months before it rotates. I don't know if that's intentional, but, like, it's a pretty solid time to give people dust back. It's a pretty good time to do that.
I don't think it's unplayable with this change, right? I still think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, that 2/4 is very relevant. Like, the 2/4 always is way more relevant than it looks like on paper.
Yeah.
And, like, Zeph in an aggressive deck is still really good.
It is. And it's... they nerfed 3 cards in Highlander Hunter. I think Reader is take it or leave it there. We'll talk about Polk in a minute, but I think that if they hadn't nerfed Bran, we would have had another meta where Highlander Hunter immediately jumped to the top and probably would have stayed there until they did something about it. And it's been a year and a half, and, like, people aren't sick of it in the way that they complain about it. People are sick of it in the way that they know it's good and they won't play it. And that should probably tell you that maybe it's time to nudge this thing. It was unexpected, and I don't think they nerfed everything they needed to nerf. But I do think they needed to nerf this. I do think they did.
That's fair.
And
7 did feel early.
It did, especially on coin.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Just taking 8 damage on turn 6 and facing an 8/8, like...
Particularly the Polkelt coin curve.
I'm glad you segued into talking about Polkelt, because, man, am I glad they did this. I've been on this train since the first week of Scholomance. But, Edelweiss, you were talking about it too. Why did they need to nerf this card?
Because it was just... For the decks that wanted that effect, it was a strictly better Chillwind Yeti. Right? This is a card that should have a cost. And as a 4-mana 4/5, it did not have a cost. We've seen, other things with, positive effect on that stat line, Omega Devastator, but if you're playing it on curve, you don't get the effect. Polkelt was best in the decks that could just run it out on 4 and be okay with that. And honestly, a lot of those decks still run it out on 5, and those are probably going to be the best ones that make use of it. But it's just a little bit worse. It is giving you a cost. In Demon Hunter, you don't get to hero power. In Hunter, it's an inefficient minion in a deck that is built to be around efficient cards. And anything else, it's just a little bit clunkier.
It's definitely in Barista Lynchin territory now instead of...
exactly.
Too good. I don't know.
And can you imagine Barista at 4? Like,
we just play
it. So many decks would play it. So many decks would play it. Oh man.
It looked like a really cool combo card, and it ended up just being the most efficient thing you could do in any aggressive deck, and that felt wrong. That felt like the wrong thing. It reminds me actually of when aggro decks and mid-range decks would just play 2 Bad Luck Albatross at 3 mana, because you would just screw up Highlander decks sometimes, and there was no real downside to just playing a 3 mana 4/3. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't, it didn't lead to a fun play pattern, but also there wasn't enough of a downside to just throw it in a deck where you were missing a 3-drop and you were like, this is fine, and sometimes I'll turn off a Highlander effect. So I'm glad they changed this, because it reminded me a lot of Recruit, where the best thing to do was just remove a bunch of cards from the pool you were willing to play, bring the curve as low as possible, and really homogenize as a deck building challenge. It made decks a lot more boring, and it made aggro decks really, really consistent in a way that novel at first, but then, the 5th time in a row that you get Altruist for 6 because they knew what the top cards of their deck were, I think it's probably time we make a change. So I'm glad they did.
I mean, why don't we go into this other Highlander Hunter card, Voracious Reader?
Is this a Highlander Hunter nerf?
I mean,
you mean
it's Highlander
Aggro Demon
Hunter, it's
Hunter
Aggro
nerf?
Demon Hunter, I mean, the Shamans were running it as well, yeah?
Not Evolve.
Oh, really?
No, you don't.
Yeah,
You don't want this in Evolve.
some totem shamans would run it just because you ran 4 0-mana totem cards in your deck, and
Okay.
it would refill you. But
It was mostly green decks. Yeah.
primarily, I saw this card as Aggro Demon Hunter, and
I mean, that was the big one for sure.
sometimes low curve hunter decks, but I honestly didn't see too many of those. I mean, I don't know. We talked to so these nerfs came out, and what I believe most people would expect is I would have been very pleased with these nerfs, because lots of Demon Hunter nerfs, and we all know my opinion on Demon Hunter, or at least playing against it. And I saw these nerfs. I was and am still pretty, I don't want to say upset, but I'm not super happy with the nerfs.
Skeptical, I think, is the word I'd use.
It was a more visceral reaction than that, but we'll call it skeptical. So
Okay.
I want to say I fully and 100% trust the developers and the designers of the game to balance it accordingly. So I am putting my full faith that these were the correct nerfs. But when we talked about what cards we wanted to see changed, I said I wanted Demon Hunter to do less damage. And I mean, you could technically say that, I guess, Dreadlord's Bite, the nerf to that means they do less damage. But in my opinion, Demon Hunter does not do enough less damage now. And I'm playing a deck, I will admit, that does not take advantage of these nerfs very well, so I'm probably a bit biased, but it still feels like I get smacked really hard really early. It feels like I get nearly pyroblasted every turn from turn 7, 8, and 9, and there's not a lot I can do about it.
Or from
Now,
Soul.
I could be playing a deck that takes advantage of the nerfs, right? I could be playing a deck where Blade Dance cost 1 more and Shard Shattered Mystic costing 1 more is more advantageous for me, but it still doesn't help the feeling that I get of hopelessness when I'm playing against Demon Hunter and they do ridiculous amounts of damage every turn for a bunch of turns in a row, and there's not like anything I can do about it. So
Wait,
I trust that these.
Aren't you playing Rogue?
Yeah.
The matchup has definitely swung a bit. Like, we were already destroying aggro Demon Hunter. The Soul Demon Hunter matchup now, they really struggle against a wide early board, which we can kind of generate.
I mean, that might be the case, but it's what I wanted, and maybe this was incorrect, but I wanted to feel like I could compete with the amount, not necessarily compete with the amount of damage Demon Hunter could do, but it felt like the cards I wanted to get nerfed did not get nerfed, because it feels like Demon Hunter just still does a whole ton of damage. And it feels like it's too much damage. Whenever I get, whenever I'm playing against them, it just feels like I'm taking an exorbitant amount of damage with very little cost to them. I guess now it feels like there's a cost to some of their cards, but to me it just feels like the cards that were the problem didn't get touched, and that's probably wrong. But it's just when I saw these nerfs, that was my immediate thought, is that the cards that I figured needed to get changed did not. And my problem with that is that either what happens is they nerfed so many cards that Demon Hunter is either not playable anymore, or it's not going to feel any different to play against. And I want Demon Hunter to be playable, but I don't want to feel hopeless when I'm playing against it. And I guess that's what I wanted to say.
News, but I think they might want that to be the feeling of playing against Demon Hunter. Or at the very least, they want the feeling of Demon Hunter to be hitting your opponent in the face a lot. And that the result of that means playing against Demon Hunter, it can feel kind of hopeless because you can't stem the tide.
Well, but it feels hopeless if you get to a certain point in the game, and they just made it harder for a Demon Hunter to get there.
I mean, it depends what kind of deck, what kind of Demon Hunter you are up against. And I think right now, people are still figuring out how to adjust in the post-nerf Demon Hunter world in terms of deck building for Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter still has a lot of powerful cards. I think what may end up happening as a result is to make up for Blade Dance being a little slower, they have to include something like Immolation Aura again for some of the aggro decks, which then means you will take out some of the damage. Maybe you cut the Relentless Pursuit, something like that. I think that Demon Hunter is still good with these changes. Like Shard Shatter Mystic is correctly costed, Dreadlord's Bite is correctly offensive attack, but both of those I think are still very good cards. It'll still be really devastating if an aggro Demon Hunter Dreadlord's Bites your board away, so that they can push with minions. A lot of the good minions are still there. It's just that Voracious Reader isn't as efficient. I think there's definitely more tools to work with. Maybe you don't do the Polkelt Skull thing anymore and you go back to the acrobatics thing. That seems like maybe what I would do. But I mean, it seemed pretty clear to me that they wanted to make these changes to weaken Demon Hunter in ways that were not strictly the damage output.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. And it's not that I don't mind the getting attacked in the face repeatedly. It's just I wish instead of taking 7, 8, and 9 damage, I was taking 5, 6, and 7 damage, right? I don't want gigantic changes. I just want to feel like the amount of damage that they're attacking me for is reasonable, and right now it feels unreasonable.
I suppose
when I'm getting smashed.
Demon Hunters are you facing? Probably still Soul,
both.
Right?
No, both.
Oh, you're facing the aggro as well.
And I'm getting crushed by both, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're still getting the +4 attack from Stilt Stepper in aggro, or
yep.
And you're still getting Twin Sliced, so
Twin Slice and Relentless Pursuit and Stilt Steppered. Yeah, it's still and Bladed Lady pretty easily. Like it's
Bladed Lady is a card, yeah.
It's a card.
I just wish it was harder. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's that hard for them to attack for 8 damage on turn 7. I don't know.
They have to choose between attacking and clearing now. And that's kind of where the big difference maker is made. Looking at Legend stats from the past week, in Legend only, Soul Demon Hunter's win rate is 43.9%, and Aggro Demon Hunter is at 48% overall win rate. And the Rogue matchup is bad for both Demon Hunters, so it might just be a question of.
I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say, because you're talking about stats. I don't care about stats. I care about the feeling I get when I play against the deck. And that's been my only issue this entire time. I don't care about how good the deck is. I want the deck to be playable. I just care about the feeling I get when I play against it. And maybe it's just an extremely biased opinion because of the experience I've had playing against it. But they changed the cards that don't affect the experience I was having. I want them to be able to have. I don't mind them having efficient removal tools. What I don't like is having them efficient removal tools where I get smacked in the face for unreasonable amounts of damage.
Yeah,
or what I consider unreasonable amounts of damage.
And I am still surprised they did not nerf Skull. I was really expecting the Skull nerf to finally happen. I was really, really expecting it. And Lifesteal Demon Hunter, the combo deck, is potentially still pretty viable, even though the Blade Dance nerf hurt a lot, and that's a really, really big nerf.
Hurts so much.
And
I played
think
3 games and lost them all to Blade Dance being more expensive.
And I think likely what will happen, Bot, is that you will experience less of that feeling because the deck will be played less frequently. But if the game gets to that late game point, I would not be surprised if that's on some level how they want the class to feel. And it's when Twin Slice goes away, obviously that will make a difference, right? Like obviously that'll be a big deal. Because Twin Slice.
That's like the number one card we all talked about them changing. And it didn't get changed. So
I just try and think of Twin Slice as Eviscerate.
But right? When it pairs with the Blade Dance, it's pretty powerful.
Well, right, but you're doing that less now, and it's more expensive.
Sure.
But and there isn't Blade Dance in the aggro decks. I think part of it is it feels worse because it's like they have all this damage coming from one source sometimes that is their attack. So you see the big number. But if you are attacking someone with a waggle pick and you're eviscerating them in the same turn, that's the same thing as if you're attacking someone with a marrow slicer and playing Twin Slice.
Yeah, I mean, I was secret passaging before the secret passage nerf. I would just like secret passage, then like draw 10 damage, and then they would just die, right? Like, and that would happen. But
Hook Scimitar, eviscerate, yeah.
But if we're talking feelings, if we're talking a large green number with no cleverness that hits you in the face and then your life total turns into a large negative red number, that did not change. So I'm not here to tell someone the feelings are wrong. I'm not here to do that. I am here to say, Bot, I expect you will see less Demon Hunter because it is really not doing well right now until maybe they make another round of nerfs, which I think they will probably have to do. And I don't even know if we spelled out the other nerfs that actually happened. Blade Dance went to 3 mana, Shard Shatter went to 4 mana. So they hit both board control tools. Devastating. Huge, devastating, really, really important nerfs. It's possible to go under Soul Demon Hunter now in a really major way. I can't believe they let us have Dustbreaker at 3 mana for so long, if I'm being honest with you. It seemed like kind of a mistake. And then they also nerfed Dreadlord's Bite from 3 attack to 2 attack. And it did hit Aggro Demon Hunter not quite as hard. I think the Voracious Reader nerf hit that deck a little harder, but Aggro Demon Hunter is still technically a part of the meta because it's one of the more reliable ways to beat Evolve Shaman, which they did not nerf.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the concern that I have right now. The nerfs they did to Demon Hunter, they changed the win rate but not the feel as much. Though you can get under it if you want to get under it, and if you draw Edwin, then like Edwin's good. And they didn't touch Rogue. And they didn't touch Shaman. And Evolved Shaman right now, as of this very moment, a global win rate in Legends since the nerf of 54.6%. 54.6%. It's a problem.
Pretty good.
It's problematic. Because the best matchups against that deck were Aggro Demon Hunter and Highlander Hunter, and guess what got changed?
Well, and it's one of those where it's a lot harder to build to beat because sometimes they just get the high roll.
Well, you build to beat it by playing aggro decks, but format had 2 good aggro decks and they nerfed them both.
I mean, I think Control can also do all right, but it is challenging.
Yeah,
Control can do okay unless they high roll, and then they'll hit a 4 mana 8/8, and then
that's what I mean, right?
Don't have the tools to beat it.
If they are playing Knuckles on 5, and you've managed and you've got your clears good to go, like Warrior can navigate this, but if they get that big turn just a little bit too early, it's pretty rough.
I also want to say, I don't think I'm being reasonable with my request. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like my thoughts and feelings are reasonable. So,
I mean, they could have nerfed the damage instead of the board control, right? They could have made Lapidary do 4, and they could have made Twin Slice worse, and Stilt Stepper could have been 3. Like, that's a thing they could have done. They chose
right.
to...
And that's what
yeah.
I was expecting, and they changed other things.
Yeah,
And
I think
it is what it is. I trust them, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I do trust them, and I think that they know better than I do what changes will uh create their vision of what they want the format to be. It's just those weren't the changes I wanted, therefore I'm not happy. But I'm not
Right.
I also don't want it to seem like, it probably sounds like I'm complaining. I'm not necessarily complaining at them. I'm just complaining that I didn't get what I want, I guess. I don't know.
You're whinging. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's...
And I don't want to invalidate your feelings. I just
Yeah.
wanted to give you the bad news that I think that was very purposeful, and they want Demon Hunter to do that thing, which is why this is very much one of those classes that people love or hate. Because I think a lot of folks, you are not alone in this, a lot of people had that first launch of Ashes, and they just got that big number hitting them in the face so much, and they're just like, make it stop. And I think it's unfortunately kind of part of the class identity. So
It doesn't
we'll
have to
see.
be... It doesn't have to be exactly this way, but they want it to be pretty close to this way. And I like big damage numbers. I like the big damage. There was a
Yeah, I
Twitter...
mean, it's just a reality I'm gonna have to live with. It's fine.
Well,
I'll
it's...
deal with it.
You won't have to live with it because the deck sucks now. Like,
What
it's...
happened to the token list? I never actually picked that up to try.
Oh yeah, that was a... The word we use in the industry is meme. It's a meme. Yeah, that wasn't... We knew that wasn't good the second we saw it, and that's been validated. But yeah, I mean, there was a Twitter thread going around this week of your top 5 decks of all time. And I found some winners, let me tell you. I had Ungoro Burn Mage, I had the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, Double Conceal Miracle Rogue with Tomb Pillager and Small Time Buck. Deck was sweet. Yeah, was
God.
really, really good. I had Enhanso Mechano Zoo, which was also a great deck. What was my 4th one? I had this listed here.
I didn't make a list, but I got scared when I started to make the list in my head because I think 3 of the decks were priest decks.
Yeah.
Oh, I think all of mine are mage.
Yeah. Oh, my 4th one was Kit Kat's Control Warrior. Yeah, with Shield Maidens and Ysera and all that. Yeah.
I never actually posted. I guess I should do that. I just sort of did it in my head and then never said anything.
Yeah. But so I had some honorable mentions, and one of them was going to be 5 mana Warglave's Aggro Demon Hunter. It's in my top 10.
I really want to try Warglaves with Relentless Pursuit.
I'm glad they nerfed that card after they printed Relentless Pursuit, by the way. I'm glad that before. I'm glad that was never a thing. But the Aggro Demon Hunter in mid Ashes, I did really enjoy playing that deck. I really, really liked a lot of things about it. It had just the right combination of Rogue and Aggro Warrior to me. And there are a lot of people that like it, but also there are a ton of people that had a really terrible first impression experience facing it in Ashes and wanted to do something else. And it kind of represented all the changes that Hearthstone has gone through that people didn't really like. And it's a very polarizing class. I think it is the aggro equivalent of Priest, in that the people that like it will play it a ton, and the people that hate it will be very vocal about how much they hate it, and also it will be disproportionately popular, regardless of how good it is. Now, this might be the first time we've seen bad Demon Hunter, because we've never experienced bad Demon Hunter, but Priest was bad for a long, 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 long time. And most of the time is still bad. And it still is disproportionately played, especially Res Priest decks, even when they're bad. Because people like the playstyle and it's unique and it's specific and they identify as a Priest player. A lot of people identify as Demon Hunter players too. And then a lot of other people identify as Demon Hunter haters. I think Joss over in the Angry Chicken.
So much.
Yeah. See? But so Edelweiss is to Priest as Botticus is to Demon Hunter.
Yeah. For me, it's the stealing cards. Thought Steal is probably my least favorite card in the game.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Potion of Madness, because
Screw
let me
that
tell you
card.
about
Okay.
steel cards.
right.
Oof.
That one's brutal as well.
1
But,
mana.
it was
Costs
in, it was
1
in
mana.
Two, it was in two of so three. I think 3 of my top 5 decks were like Raza Priest, the Lyra, Innerfire.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Divine
where you,
Spirit Innerfire Priest.
where you would like
and-
pint-sized potion of Void Lord and then take it and then kill them with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of
Like-
fun. And then the last one was combo Res Priest with Velen and Malagos.
Oh, the cloning gallery.
See,
Cloning Gallery.
Yeah.
those I actually feel good about because they're combo decks, and I enjoy combo decks.
No, you
I
don't. You
feel
don't
fine with
like what you don't like is Wicked Good Priest. You don't like any deck that
I-
Steve likes.
those. or like milkshake priests, so as someone called
Willie
it.
Dulls calls it that. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Just anything that's based off of I'm a control deck, and for value, I steal cards from your deck. And so I then end up losing to cards from my deck. And that feels awful.
Do you see how Bodicus is smiling right now, listeners? You can't see it, but Bodicus is smirking because this is what he lives for.
I mean, Rogue kind of does that sometimes too in my favorite Rogue decks, except it's random
But
cards instead of
It's-
specific cards
exactly,
from your deck.
Exactly. It's not cards from your deck, it's cards from your class, which is like much more tolerable because there's something about it psychologically where even if it's a card I run in my deck, if you got it from a class that was random card from your opponent's class instead of random card from your opponent's deck, it'll feel better to me. I know that doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's
Hey,
just that thing of like you
I'm not
you took
judging.
it from
Okay.
a big pool that was the class rather than specifically my deck.
When you were younger, did your brother ever ask you, why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
My brother's 5 years older than me, so I don't think so.
Because
5.5.
young people sometimes, are like, hit you with your own hand. Why are you hitting yourself? I didn't do that with my sister. So anyways, point here is we all have things that we feel certain strong ways about. We all feel strongly about certain things. I don't think there's any class and standard that I feel strongly about, but there have been cards that have been rotated that in the past I've had strong personal reactions to. Actually, no, Bomb Warrior. I don't really like playing against Bomb Warrior right now. It's okay.
Yeah.
But, like,
I feel guilty having played that.
it's okay. Like, I'll forgive you when it rotates
Hey.
out. It's fine.
As long as you're getting those W's, no reason to feel guilty.
Yeah.
As long as you're enjoying yourself, then I'm sorry for your opponents, but get those W's and enjoy yourself. That's all I can say.
But the thing that I am feeling concerned about right now is that the most common matchup in Standard is going to be the Evolve Shaman Mirror match, and that is awful. It's terrible, and I think they messed up by not nerfing Shaman. I think they made a mistake. So maybe things will equal.
Is it Knuckles to 6? What is it there?
I would like Knuckles to 3 attack so you can't get Dread Corsair down the same turn.
I dig that.
I like
That's
that
nice.
a lot too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very elegant.
And then also Knuckles attacks for so much damage. Like it
it
just
does because they
Yeah.
get so many.
They get 4 of them usually. Like they get 4 swings, if not 5, right? Because they at least just 1 Knuckles, 1 Horde Pillager. But if they get double Knuckles and a Horde Pillager, which doesn't which happens fairly often, that's
Mm-hmm.
what?
Yeah, because you have the 2-drop that draws it.
Yeah, that's 24 damage. It's 24. That's so much.
Not as
Yeah.
much as a Demon Hunter, but yeah, it's a lot.
Okay.
I mean, so
they
then
also
second Horde Pillager,
yeah.
that's 32. I've definitely had games where the majority of the damage I took was from the Knuckles itself. Like it's that line of, okay, I have to clear your board every turn and gain some life somehow because I'm just taking a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Because they have Instructor Fireheart. So 24 damage, they could just burn you out.
And I want
Are top
Shaman.
minions not good enough? Is that what it is? do we just not have enough good top minions? We don't have our Tar Creeper. We don't have Sludge Belcher. We don't have any of the cards that you need to prevent people from just hitting you in the face.
No, aggro's not good.
'Cause, I mean,
That's
that
the
seems to be the
No,
problem,
you
right?
need more aggro. We don't need less aggro. We need more aggro. We need less mid-game swing turns. We have too many swing turns. We have too many Edwins. We have too many Knuckles. We have too many Skipper Smith Bloodsworns. We don't have enough
Never
aggro.
enough Edwins.
That's
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah. As a known Edwin appreciator, I think the turn 1 10-10s are probably a little bit much.
Never got one. I was very disappointed.
Yeah, it's good, by the way. It's powerful. But there are so many really, really good mid-game swing turns that aggro can't appreciably get under. The issue is that aggro isn't good enough. And I was surprised to see the Reader nerf, even though, like, I'm not surprised that Reader will get nerfed eventually. I'm surprised now. But there's a really tenuous balance when your mid-game swings are so strong. The way to pressure those decks is to get under them, and then they nerf the decks that do that effectively. So I don't think that aggro tools are powerful enough. I think that we have plenty of control tools, but we're getting back to the point where the best thing to do is mid-range. And when the best thing to do is mid-range, that's kind of what it was like at the end of Ash. It just gets kind of boring and samey. Just the same powerful stuff between like turn 4 and 7. And what happens before doesn't matter as much. And if you can grind it out, then fine. But it's a huge power spike in the middle of the game, repeatedly.
Crap. I just realized something.
What?
Bogspine Knuckles is an Ashes of Outlands card.
Yeah, it's not going away.
Yeah.
They need to nerf the attack. They need to be 3 attack. Now, we lose Mogu. We lose Desert Hare. Thankfully. We lose Horde Pillager.
Oh, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, we lose Horde Pillager.
But
Losing Horde Pillager is big.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Real big.
We might even lose Dread Corsair. Because
Possibly.
so if we
In
lose
some
those 4
capacity.
cards, then the deck kind of falls apart. But
Yeah.
I think there's some value now that the weapon is tutorable. Now that they printed Custodian, you can make Bogspine a little worse. I still want Evolve Shaman to exist. I don't want it to be the best thing you can do. And we've talked about this in the show.
We talked about that before. It was the best
Yeah.
thing you could do. We said it's fine that it exists. It's not fine if it's the best thing you can do. And we've now entered that period where it's the best thing you can do.
What is the best thing we want? What is the deck we want to be the best thing to do, though? I mean, obviously, in a perfectly
ideally
ideal world,
It was-
there is no best thing to do.
It
right?
was
But,
Highlander
like,
Hunter
that's-
for a year and a half. So like now
Like,
I don't
yeah.
even know anymore.
Like that's the ideal scenario is that the best thing to do is whatever you want, but that's never going to happen. So you're saying that Highlander Hunter is you
Honestly,
think
I was okay with that because it was the deck that people played for a bit and then they're like, I'm tired of this. And then even though it was the best thing to do, they just stopped playing.
I'm going to give you a fake out answer. I'm going to give you a fake answer. I want it to be unclear what the best thing is to do. That's the answer. I don't want it to be super obvious that there's one thing. I want there to be options. So the idea of if the meta settled into pure paladin, control priest, and face hunter. I think those are all like reasonable mainline strategies, but you wouldn't want those to be the only options, the only aggro, whatever. I'd love if we got to the point where Zoo was good, but I don't think we're going to do that because, as stated multiple times, since they rotate out Doomguard, Zoo is not good.
Rest in peace, Doomguard.
Yeah, but I don't want there to be a super clear answer in the best thing, because I don't know, it feels like there should be opportunity for some level of variety, and we've had some metas that have had that, right? We've had some metas where, if you look at the first month of Scholomance, what was the best thing to do in the first month of Scholomance? There were like 30 best things. It was a new best thing every day. There was a weekend where the best thing to do was Mozaki Mage. Like, or at least it seemed that way. But whatever the best thing is, the problem that I can remember that I wanted to actually play less was Cyclone Mage and now Evolve Shaman. When the best thing to do is highly variant and highly powerful at getting to the variant position. Like, Cyclone Mage did the same thing every game, but how it played out was really variant, and sometimes they would get you by generating a counterspell or whatever. But it still, like, played a bunch of dinky crap, drew a bunch of cards, generated a bunch of spells, played a bunch of cheap mana giants, and killed you, but how it got there was varied, and it felt like it could do everything. Evolve Shaman, draw a weapon, play a weapon, make stuff, kill you with stuff, but the stuff can vary, and sometimes that Desert Hare turns into a Nozdormu. So I don't know. And Donkey saying in chat we want the best thing to do to not have huge spikes of power. I'm okay with power spikes. It depends
They
when
just
and
can't be too
where.
early.
I don't want turn 1 Edwins for 10-10. Like, I don't want that. But
Or turn 2 Bog Spine Knuckles for 2 5-drops.
yeah, some crap like that. Yeah. But if we even just like that first Evolve Shaman swing, turn 5, make a board and swing, like if it's on turn 5, fine. It's okay. It's just when it's on turn 5 and turn 6 and turn 7 and turn 8 and turn 9, and also that's 20 damage, that's a little much. That's a little too much.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Think about the formats that you've enjoyed the most. The formats that I can think of that I've enjoyed the most. I really loved the first month of Skolo, where there was a lot to do. I really enjoyed the non-Doom Doom in the Tomb Saviors of Uldum because there were a whole bunch of really good viable decks, and I could play Aggro Warrior, or I could play Combo Priest, or whatever. And I really enjoyed Ungoro because there were a ton of really good decks, including Burn Mage, but not limited to that. And you could play a lot of stuff. That kind
Honestly,
of... Yeah. Go ahead.
you mentioned Uldum. I miss Restless Mummy being a good card.
Yeah.
Like, it is a good thing that we get off Feral Cat now, but it kind of says a lot that Restless Mummy has been not good enough to be in Warrior decks.
It was crazy to us that Restless Mummy made Militia Commander not good enough. It was crazy
Right.
at the time. Then after that, it was crazy that Scion of Ruin made Restless Mummy not good enough. Now none of those are even close to good enough.
I mean, does that
Scion
speak
is
to
coming back a
how
little bit.
good? Does that speak to how good Restless Mummy is, or does that speak to how good Warrior cards are right now?
Oh,
Because Warrior's
definitely
got kind of
Warrior
an
cards.
embarrassment of
Yeah.
riches right now.
They printed
Yeah,
Risky
Warriors
Skipper
are
and
kind of
then
insane.
4-drop stopped being
But
good.
but it's also weird because it's like almost still not good enough, right?
It's the
Like it was
yeah.
good until Demon Hunter's not good, and
Well,
now
No, it was good until Evolve Shaman was the
we'll
best thing to
see.
do.
Yeah.
Like,
There's been a weird chain reaction
Yeah.
where the aggro decks were really keeping Evolve Shaman in check, and Warrior was really good at shutting down those aggro decks with Skipper, Armorsmith, Bloodsworn. Now we don't really have the aggro decks, so Warrior doesn't have as much food, and it's a lot less reliable at actually beating the shamans or other greedy things that are able to be greedier because they don't have to worry about so much aggro Demon Hunter.
though there is a good 4-drop in Warrior now, Sword Eater, which is the 4-drop of choice, which
Yeah.
basically has 3 attack, rush, and also 5 health. It's like a Restless Mummy.
Which gives
Yeah.
it gives you
Taunt!
it sets you up to be able to have time for the Skipper Armorsmith turn, because it can take
It's-
quite a bit of mana to get there. But
It also can save your life in the later game, right? Because it can stop your opponent from being able to hit you in the face.
And it's a pirate, so you can go get it with Ankar.
And it reduces cutting class.
That card
And
does
it
too
sets
many
up your-
things.
and it sets up your burst for your ETC turn at the end.
I was surprised not to see that one go to 2/4.
Yeah. But, I mean, it turns out Warrior didn't need to be nerfed, but it didn't need to be nerfed in the context of Shaman being really strong.
Right.
And I think that context maybe has opportunity for nudges.
Someone did post a thing that got me a little excited. It was a Galakron warrior
Funky
with
Monkeys list, yeah.
a copy of Stage Dive. I'd probably tinker with it a little bit. I might want another Stage Dive because the idea of stage diving for a buffed Scion of Ruin really appeals to me. I would like some 5/3 rushes, 3 copies of them. That seems
Yeah.
alright to me.
And I love Sign of Ruin, so I hope we can still play with it. I don't know. It's what should be good is a big question. And sometimes there are metas where it's better if there's a best deck, especially if it's not a good best deck. Like think about week 3-ish of Galakron's Awakening, where the best deck was Curve to 5 Dragon Hunter. I mean, I think that was a pretty inoffensive best deck in the grand scheme of things, even though like it had a lot of damage and Stormhammer's a crazy card and whatever, and sometimes you got Rot Nested and blown out by the Deadly Shot, whatever. But there are times where you're going to have a best deck that stands out in a way that's pretty harmful, and other times where it's okay for something to be slightly above the rest. I don't want it to quite be like this. I don't want it to quite be where Shaman is so clearly the best thing to do, and where it's a highly variant mid-game play pattern.
We do have some other card changes, just not in this format.
Oh yeah. So we'll wind down. Oh god, 90 minutes in. What happened? Started talking about nerfs, and then like the show evaporated.
I mean, it's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we expected this, and yeah,
I'm glad they
it's
changed
just
some
a lot
stuff. Yeah.
it's a lot of changes, and we want to take the time that it deserves, and I wanted to at least be able to express my feelings about things. So,
Also
yeah.
got. I don't wanna push, but hat already paid up. Just
Oh, I was
know.
gonna do it on the show because I wanted to make sure. But yes, that is happening. We all Edelweiss won again. Nobody's surprised.
times.
We'll
It's
see about this next one. I'm glad I lost this time. Last time I don't remember, but yeah,
it's
Edelweiss wins
yeah.
again.
I'm glad they did not nerf right before Worlds.
That would have been rough.
Same.
Yeah. And Worlds was
Alright.
cool. We'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, we got these duels nerfs.
Yeah, so last thing we got in here, some duels balance updates. Reducing the number of cards required to get your signature treasures and hero powers. So if you're not a person that has a lot of cards, maybe you have a bit more access to things now. I wonder if this will be a consistent thing, whether they choose to reduce at a certain time, or if this is just going to be the new norm. Hopefully it's the new norm for how many cards are required, so that more people have access to these things. They also updated the wording criteria for hero powers and signature treasures to better reflect how to unlock them. And then here are the changes. So Shadow Shell Informant had the battle cry removed from it. That's the rogue hero power that gave you a 1/1 that would ping a random enemy minion when you played it.
It's now just
So
a blank 1/1. It's just a wisp.
Yeah, now you get a 1/1. Well, it's worse than a wisp because it costs 1 mana. Right?
Yeah, it's garbage. It's really, really bad. It's really bad.
Right. The new mage hero power that was 2 mana to draw a secret now costs 1 mana because 2 mana was a lot. Probably the biggest change is kill Mox. Instead of giving +2/+2, it gives a reasonable amount of attack and damage every time you discard a card, down from 2/2 to 1/1, because that card was ridiculous when it was getting gigantic too quickly. And it's
Still
probably still good. It's still good, right?
Yeah, but not broken.
Yeah, not super broken. So kill Mox is now reasonable. A couple other changes. Moarg Outcast, the Demon Hunter treasure, is now a 4-drop up from a 3-drop. Gift of the Legion, the other Demon Hunter treasure, went from 2 mana to 3 mana. And they buffed a druid, the druid weapon, from 5 mana down to 4 mana, and the paladin dragon from 5 mana down to 4 mana. So I think a lot of people were surprised at the Shadow Shell Informant nerf, which I also was, but it was one of those things where it was like powerful, but I don't know how powerful Rogue was. So it's kind of interesting that they changed that. I think the mage hero power change makes a lot of sense because it doesn't play the secret, and 1 mana draw a very specific card in your deck that you only have so many of, so it falls off later, I think is fine, because mage secrets are still expensive and there's a fairly significant cost to playing them in your deck. I mean, we all know that Kill Mox had to get nerfed, and then these other changes just seem like nudges that probably needed to happen because Demon Hunter was a little bit too good with the treasures, and Druid and Paladin were likely struggling because they needed slightly better treasures.
Surprised they didn't nerf double time. That was the one I was kind of expecting. The passive
that's
that that does double casts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
I'm glad it's less easy to get Gift of the Legion to just be 0 mana. Because there was a thing you could do where...
Double line hopper.
Yeah, either double line hopper or just one line hopper and you hit all your spells are reduced by 1. You could just get free Gift of the Legion, and once it's outcasted, just APM, play as many times as possible, infinite attack. That was rough. And it was a little too efficient at 2 generally.
Yeah. I admit I don't have time for duels. It's not a mode that I'm glad it exists. It has not been a mode that I've been playing at all. Just there's so much Hearthstone to do, and so many games to play, and so much life to live, that it's hard to find time to do everything that I want to do in the client, which is a wonderful position to be in. Because 2 years ago we were begging for literally anything else to do. But can't really speak to this with any kind of information other than it seems like these are good changes.
Yep.
Seems to be one of these things where whenever I start a duels run, I almost never get the chance to finish it before one of the cards in my deck gets nerfed. So it's one of those things where like I'll play a couple duels games every once in a while when I'm slightly frustrated with a couple games in standard and I don't want to put the time in to play battlegrounds. I'll play a bit of duels, but it's definitely not like a major play mode for me, but I'm very glad that it exists because it kind of gives an outlet for something short term to do that I don't have to care too much about, even though I'm still playing heroic because I have like 11 battle passes carried over from never playing arena ever.
Speaking of which,
one last thing. I would like to appreciate that the only dev comment on any of the nerfs is just, turns out Killmox was a killjoy. Move to +1/+1.
someone thought
The
they were
only dev
clever.
comment.
Yeah. Someone thought they were clever. And you know what? They were right. So speaking of arena, there's more news. Did you scroll down?
I didn't, made several micro adjustments for cards offering rates in arena. Dev said that they updated the appearance rate of cards to ensure class balance remains close to the ideal 50% win rate. Specifically, the win rate of Demon Hunter and Warlock should now be decreased. The win rate of Druid, Hunter, Mage, Rogue, and Shaman should be increased. Win rate of Paladin, Priest, and Warrior should be roughly the same. So they're doing their best to, instead of, I guess the thing they get to do with arena is instead of actually changing what cards do, they can just change how often powerful and less powerful cards appear, and that's kind of neat. And then they fixed a couple bugs, like a visual bug that persisted on the board after corrupted minion had been destroyed or otherwise removed, and they're still working on a fix for cards that transform, such as Bandersmosh and Molten Blade.
It was weird. It was so weird. This was something that popped up a lot on day one. If you played a corrupted minion, after it died, it would just stay there on the board, but you could still play 7 minions, so it would just look like you had extra board slots. And there was just this ghost minion hanging out in the middle. So I think someone played like a whole bunch of corrupted clowns and got up to 11 minions on the board. Like you just stretch out across the whole thing. But they fixed it in the day. It was good. Yeah. And
then, just real quick, the last couple things, because we already knew about this, but all of the reward track progression updates are now live. So you should have got, if you haven't logged in, you probably got a level or two if you've been playing a bit. Everything's a bit easier to complete, and it costs less, or it requires less XP to level up, so on and so on. They have a link to the full update in this post. We got some Winter Veil quests. I think a bunch of people just got like 5 packs and 500 gold. I don't know if that was part of Winter Veil, but I know that they gave that out. They just gave everybody a bunch of packs in gold. If you complete a quest chain, the Winter Veil quests are a quest chain to get 4 Madness at the Dark Moon Fair card packs. And then lastly, the Book of Heroes Garrosh is now available, so you can earn a Warrior card pack by completing that. And then Uther looks like it's coming out on January 5th. And that's it. Huge update. Lots of stuff to talk about. And yeah, I mean, that would be enough for a show, but we also finally have an official tournament section with a Hearthstone official tournament to talk about. So, Hat, why don't you take it away?
I will take it away. We have some tournament news too. I guess I'll cover that right at the beginning. Let's go.
It's the grand tournament.
Forgot about one thing. Tournaments! Hey, the World Championships happened! Before we get to that, though, I want to cover this one piece of news. A bunch of Hearthstone esports employees left the company recently. Like, yesterday-ish. Or maybe it was the day before. Alex Charsky, who was one of the directors of esports, and a couple people from Overwatch League, and a couple people from Hearthstone esports. Alessia Potocka, I believe, also Anna Potocka. A bunch of people moved on. I think it was 5 or 6. Now, we don't know why or what happened here. There are still people that work for Hearthstone esports. Aaron Eberhardt's still around. Callie Anderson's still around, for example. And they haven't announced what's going on yet, but my understanding is they're still working on it, and they've been clear they're working on it. And my theory is this is because of a likely permanent or semi-permanent shift to digital events. And that if these were people that were booking venues and managing logistics and booking flights for people, you don't need them anymore. That would be my guess. But also, it could just be a reduction in esports. We don't know. Don't have any information right now. We don't know what the program's going to look like. But at this point, they could easily get away with a full shift to digital. And a full shift to digital would save them a ton of money. And they were already saving a bunch of money. So I would be pretty surprised if that wasn't the direction they go for most of their tournaments. It's just easier than giving people a bunch of travel money. You just have them stay home.
Yeah, it would be a real shame not to have Blizzard in-person events, but it makes so much more sense for everything to be digital. That being said, I would hope that if they go in that direction, they open up some third-party stuff a bit, right? Bring back dream hacks, like if they just sort of let third-party organizations run some other big events, I feel like that would be really great for the community.
They could. I don't think they're stopping anybody, though.
Yeah, I guess it's weird to say let it. Yeah, it's not that they are stopping people. I guess it was sort of DreamHack decided that it wasn't, that it wouldn't be worth it if people were no longer able to get points for the main Hearthstone competitive circuit, right? Like they pretty much called it quits when HCT stopped. I feel like we've had enough time that if people had in-person events, particularly if Blizzard is no longer doing them at all, I think people would go if there was a big prize pool, regardless of if there was points for the regular pro circuit. Obviously, you wouldn't want to interfere with whatever Blizzard is doing, but people really enjoyed those in-person events. So I would love to see Opens come back in a big way.
Yeah, I mean, there is there is the mild issue of the global pandemic. That's kind of a thing. Because remember, they stopped DreamHacks last year, and then this year they probably would have spun it back up, but coronavirus can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you know
for
what
sure.
would be sweet is if they're saving all this money and saving a ton of money, if they, put a portion of that into a larger prize pool, that would be cool, because I know that people have consistently complained about a prize pool, and if they can save all of this money by going digital only and then increase the prize pool, it I don't want to see the death of live events, because live events are sweet and I loved going to live Magic events, but I mean, larger prize pools definitely would be good, and also would help people who are trying to play a lot of Hearthstone at a high level, because yeah, it's kind of hard to make a living playing Hearthstone for a lot of people, even if you're at the top of the well, a lot of people are just flat out choosing to not do it. So having a higher prize pool might get people to want to do it.
What I have noticed over, like, from trying to do this, trying to run events uh, at the same time as this new system, is that I got kind of strangled because it was difficult to convince people to play in a tournament when at the same time there were always qualifiers. And so people were a lot of times wanting to enter the free qualifier for Blizzard stuff to get packs for a certain amount and maybe get that win to go to the Masters Tour, even though the expected value was really not there. But they were more willing to take that chance with the free event and just grind out a ton of qualifiers than to pay. God, I don't even remember what I was charging for entry fees. I think it varied. We were testing different amounts and stuff, but $10, $15, $5, whatever, to win a couple $100. And we had prize pools for first, second, third. We got a fair number of Latin American players who are much more used to these kind of cash cups systems, but a lot of other people were just like grinding out the qualifiers to try and get to the Masters Tour, and it kind of choked out the possibility of third-party stuff on a larger scale.
It's just not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And the players don't think it's worth it. And the good thing about Blizzard Online tournaments for the players, why online only is so player-friendly, nobody's paying travel costs. A lot of people in countries with a worse conversion rate to the US dollar don't have to travel, and they just get to log in and make $850. It's a bunch of money. And they were paying out a lot more of that. They had a much higher percentage of people that actually checked into the events. Really great for players, but really bad for TOs, because you can play in Masters qualifiers for free, and if you qualify, you just log in from home one day in your pajamas and you make $850. It's not really worth it for event organizers to put on an event because people won't travel to it. You have to have some other reason for people to be at the venue, and I mean, DreamHacks are awesome, but if there's no points, it's not really going to be a thing that people go out of their way for outside of social reasons.
But I think you can offer a decent enough prize pool that, yeah, you won't get people necessarily traveling internationally, but there'll be a bunch of people that it's fun to go to a DreamHack and see all their friends, and they also get to compete.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It has to be social. Like, there has to be a really positive social upside, and I bet that effect will be magnified in 2021 if the vaccine gets going and people are safe and all that.
Yeah.
People will be desperate
Maybe
to do that.
2022.
Yeah.
I think events will be 22. But I would also love to have some kind of, some more larger scale third-party online tournaments. We've got kind of a thing with Battle Rift, but that's just EU.
Yeah.
Obviously it's been one of my efforts with Nerd Street to try and make that happen. But like I said, we kind of got choked out on the constant qualifiers, and it's just really brutal. I think there needs to be some kind of meaningful length of time gap in between qualifier seasons for some other group to maybe host a tournament in that in between time. Otherwise it's just extremely challenging. I mean, we've seen THL Pro League or Pro Series is really blossoming this time around. 22 teams or something, 21 teams.
I think we have 22, and in the players involved, it's what 110 players, I think.
So people want to play.
23 of the players are in top 200 right now, which is kind of insane.
Yeah. It definitely feels like the desire is there. It's just Hearthstone right now is either super grind with qualifiers or just not happening.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I kind of burned out Nerd Street during the super grind part, and rather than waiting until this lull. But I didn't know if this lull was even going to happen.
Yeah. It's been a strange year for event planning, but Blizzard offers such good first-party value that it's hard to compete with, and Hearthstone as an esport is still in kind of a questionable place. It's still just not really in the, like, you can't really pursue it in the way that other team sports really seem to have blossomed. There are a lot of question marks about Hearthstone as an esport. As a game, it's doing well. As an esport, I don't know. But was a big old esports tournament this past week. World Championships. Glory is our new world champion. Took it over Yarla in the final. Silver name Monsanto top 4. Luna, Shouty, Sif, and Bank Yugi rounded out the top 8. The winning lineup: Silas OTK Warrior. Okay. Souls Demon Hunter, Secret Rogue, and Lebroom Paladin over Control Priest, OTK Demon Hunter, Lebroom Paladin, and ETC Warrior. This is a cool tournament. Did either of you watch this? Because I watched a lot of this.
So I was going to, and then I had it spoiled for me that Luna didn't make it out of groups, and I was like, I'll wait for the games to watch.
Yeah. It was definitely disappointing to that she ended up with bad luck, but
we talked about it. Her lineup didn't really line up super well against the people in her group, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think I said that Jarla looked really good to get out of his
predictions
group,
were pretty good.
and then got crushed by the lineups afterwards because the lineups...
Well, he made it to the finals and he did well.
Yeah.
And boy, is he good at Hearthstone. He won a lot of games that I would not have won. This was the first time in a while that I just put Hearthstone on the TV and just watched it most of the day. There were definitely some technical issues. There were some mic issues in particular. I don't know if it had to do with the voice over IP connection or whatever. But it was definitely a fun tournament to watch. On Saturday, I watched it basically the entire day. Just had the window open. It was really great. And very high standard of play. And it was interesting to see the different matchups in a meta that hadn't really been fully shaken out yet. People really didn't know what the best lineups were and exactly what the best decks were. And there were it's just like watching the best players in the world try and navigate this environment completely differently was really fun. Now the viewer numbers were unfortunately down quite a bit because YouTube. And I think the stream peaked around 15K. Last year around the same time frame peaked at 100K. But it's YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's a huge drop, and also a lot of the restreams didn't happen because they also had to be on YouTube. But the platform change was dramatically negative. And there was some advertisement of the stream, but the YouTube just hasn't been as visible. And when it's on Twitch, people watch. And I don't really quite follow the psychology, but I know that I am more likely to watch things that are on Twitch than on YouTube. So Yeah, it's for those unaware, the reason that all Blizzard esports are on YouTube is because Blizzard and Google had a deal for development cloud services. It had to do with the software to make the games and to run cloud platforms. And the esports deal was part of that partnership, where they agreed to show all Blizzard esports on YouTube exclusively as part of a partnership involving development tools. Didn't have anything to do with Hearthstone esports.
Yeah, that's a really brutal one, and definitely got the worst end of it. Because the thing is, when it comes to esports, we just spend time with Twitch open a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot fewer people who just spend time with YouTube open because, or if you do, it's not the same vibe because you don't just watch what's live now on YouTube unless you're into VTubers. In general, you watch videos on YouTube that get recommended to you. So it's all about the VOD portion. Twitch, I hardly ever watch Twitch VODs because I'll go to someone's YouTube. But if something just I see that it's live, I'll go check it out, right? It's like, oh, so and so is streaming. I haven't seen them in a while, or oh, hey, I forgot HS Esports is this weekend. I have Twitch open. I'll just click the thing, and that was a lot of how I ended up watching the esports stuff. Now you have to actively seek it out or be the kind of person where like, oh, I'm recommended this thing that's live on YouTube right now and click on that. And I think that's a lot fewer people.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the case. Twitch has an amazing live stream experience and a terrible YouTube experience, and it's the exact opposite with YouTube because YouTube has the best VOD experience and a terrible live experience, and that's just kind of the way it's been, and it's unfortunate. And I'm sure I'm sure it's great to go back and watch the VODs of the World Championships on YouTube, but your numbers are just gonna suffer. Like, people who actually watch the content when it's happening is just not going to be it's not going to be as high. And
At
it's
Hearthstone,
the same thing with like Overwatch League.
Yeah.
Whose numbers have been suffering incredibly, and was one of the top viewed for a while. It was one of the top viewed live experiences, and I don't hear anything about Overwatch League anymore. So it's just like, they moved to YouTube, which has a great platform if you want to watch videos, but if you want to watch things happening live, it's just not the experience that most people are looking for, unfortunately.
I'm not sure if it was sort of a, well, if we move, people will follow, or if it was just the viewership isn't making up the majority of why we do these things anyway, so who cares if we move over to YouTube? Or if, I don't know, yeah, maybe it was strictly arrogance. I don't know. It seems like it was just tacked onto a deal and some calculations were made and they figured, okay, the viewership goes down, but this other stuff matters to us more. I don't know.
They've already made it pretty clear through their behaviors that esports is definitely not a priority for Hearthstone, but it did have to be a big enough deal that they moved Overwatch over.
Right.
I imagine it was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, probably a lot of money, because
probably a lot up front and a lot on the back end too that they're saving.
I mean, it has always been a lot of money when people have moved, right? Disguised Toast no longer streams to Twitch, right? Doesn't he stream to YouTube? And Ninja streams to Mixer or something?
Well, he streamed to Mixer, and then Mixer is gone now. So he's back on Twitch.
Go figure.
Yeah.
But like, they paid him a whole bunch of money to stream on Mixer.
Yeah. It's the streamer wars are strange. But yeah, it's cash, and also indicates pretty clearly Blizzard's perspective on the future of esports, which is not worth investing in. So I think they probably basically sold high here, right?
the move I would like to see is just based off of esports has always been either grassroots or the companies that make the games. Well, it turns out the companies that make the games aren't always the best ones at like running events because it's totally different business. It's a totally different skill set and everything. In my ideal world, and yes, I'm biased, I work for an esports company, I think that these game developers should be much less tied to like wanting to do their own esport for the game that they make and just outsource it, right? Just hire other groups, hire esports companies to run your esports stuff.
That's probably the best thing for the company, and it probably doesn't happen because esports aren't profitable, so these other companies go under.
I don't think it's impossible for esports to be profitable.
Not impossible, but in the world that we're in, esports is a losing venture, and it needs to, like, in some countries it's different, but in many cultures it's just not quite there yet. And yeah, what Craft has been saying in the chat, esports is marketing. The companies that make the game have vested interest in sharing in pushing esports because it's marketing. But I don't think that it makes money. Riot has been very proud of how they lose money on it. A lot of money. So, I don't know. It's complicated. I don't know if there's a good answer here because obviously if we had the answers for how do you solve esports, we would make a lot more money than we do now.
I mean, I think it comes from certain things that we just don't have set up yet, right? The closer we get it to actual sports where you're selling seats, you're selling tickets, that kind of thing, and with that concessions, etc. Like the closer you can get to that, we have Xfinity Arena here in Philadelphia, and seeing an event there is awesome.
Yeah.
So I expect as esports arenas get built up, it'll really pick up in a more meaningful way, in large part just because people are going to grow up with esports the same way that other people grew up with sports. And so you'll have a lot more folks that are willing to pay for seats to see esports stuff just because it's really hype.
Kinda. Imagine if you went to a football game and the week before they decided the Kansas City Chiefs were too powerful, so they nerfed Patrick Mahomes and they sent him to the Chargers. And then a week later, they said, "Oh, you can't. The forward pass is too good. You have to run the ball more now." And they made you can't throw the ball that hard. The rules in esports keep changing. You don't play Hearthstone. Vanilla Hearthstone is no longer the same game. If someone came in 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and they watched Hearthstone, and they came back today, what is even happening? If someone watched League of Legends a year ago, who are these new heroes? What are the new abilities? What did they change? The product that we consume is not the same. Football, the rules have been the same for decades, right? And they change small things. They change small things. Where do you kick the football from? But the general rule, the general structure of the game, and the actions required, you can teach that to your children, and they'll be able to teach it to their children, and it's roughly the same understanding. Trying to explain Hearthstone to someone that's taken a year break from the game, there's a new class? What are all these new abilities? Why do these cards have 2 different colors on them? What's corrupt? It's not as accessible unless you're a person that plays the game. Sports are accessible to people that don't play.
This is my argument, though. Yeah. So I would argue that people get more passionate about esports because they also play the game. Like there are people who watch and play baseball, but for the most part, people just watch baseball and they don't play it. Esports is it's a kind of event where people aren't just watching to see the best players at the top of their game. They're also watching to like go home and try that stuff out. And I think, and this is a part that I don't feel as good about, but I think it's an industry where maybe our stadiums aren't as big, maybe there's not as many people coming to see these things, but you'll get people paying more for each of those seats because there's a lot of people that are really into this stuff and they're in tech or whatever, and they go home and game, and they'll go out to and shell out to see one of these events, because the people that don't have that money are just going to stay at home and watch on Twitch. So it's this combined thing of like ad revenue from the stream to Twitch, and then you've got the more luxury end of things going to pay tickets in the stadium. And if you get a company where all they do is esports, they can make it way, way more efficient. Because I guarantee there's so much lost right now in just inefficiencies because it's nobody's specialty, right? It's hard to hire people for certain esports things just because everything is so young.
Yeah, it's the ad revenue would have to go way, way up, and you'd have to have more products that are worth advertising and bigger. Like it's just it needs to be. You're right, maybe people need to grow up and graduate from our age to being grown ups. That all that, or maybe it's the generation of that's coming behind us. The children of the people that are listening to the show right now. Maybe they will be the ones that grow up on esports. Maybe they will be the ones that want to watch this stuff, and there'll be a growing interest for it. I just think as the accessibility of people, as people gain the accessibility to do the thing they're watching, they're less likely to watch it and more likely to do it, or maybe more likely to multitask, and maybe that's better. Maybe multitasking is enough, but the value of advertising to our generation is a lot lower, I think, in many ways than it was before. At least the value of paid commercial advertising. People watch Twitch with ad blockers. That's a very normalized experience. You can't really show commercials as much. And so I just don't know if the advertising that works as well as it does in sports, which is like the primary way they make money of TV time, I don't know if that's going to have the same value in 30 years. I don't know if esports will be able to replicate that model where there's so much inertia behind it in regular sports.
I mean, but also like half of the ads that on productions like that are not skippable, right? Because it's live broadcast ads instead of
Oh yeah, you just play it in the
Twitch
feed, right?
broadcasted
Yeah.
ads. Yeah, which is essentially what football does, except football doesn't have like you're generally not watching football in a browser that would have an ad that would be able to be blocked. So
I mean, I could see where, so it's something that the companies that make the games pay for as an advertising thing. And the esports companies do it. That's a revenue stream, is companies paying the esports company to run events. You also run your own events for which you charge entry fees, where people pay to get in, and the prize pool comes from the entry fees to some extent, and you get to keep some cut. That's a revenue stream. And then also, so many kids are into a lot of games like Rocket League, like Fortnite, and so you run camps for those.
This sounds like what Magic the Gathering tournament organizers did in the early 2000s. Like this is a model that used to work. Does it still work now? I am skeptical. It's a model that absolutely used to work, but being a professional middleman and hope that the company continues to pay you so that you can run events for them when games have a relatively short lifespan. I don't know, because whenever they want, they can either go first party and pull the rug out from under you if it's profitable enough, or they can buy your company, or hire the people that you have that are good at it. But I mean, if you're really good at it and you are a diversified multiple events company and you're capable of rolling with the punches, being nimble, there's probably some value in that, assuming that the companies are willing to reach out and do that with you. But it's the first party companies have all the leverage and all the power. And it's kind of rough to be just an exhibitor. Speaking as a person that's in an industry right now where we are just the exhibitors, and it's not really going all that great in a less stable environment, I would be skeptical as a company basing their pure business model on using content that somebody else makes. It's kind of a rough spot to be in sometimes. And if it gets big enough, then it can be capable. But it has to get really, really big and be really, really stable, and games aren't quite stable enough because gamers are used to constant change, and constant change is at odds with what TV does.
I'm not sure what TV has to do with it.
Sports, just regular sports, right?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. So many people don't own a TV. Like, cable is going away. I don't know.
Kinda. It's the institution, the National Institution of Sports, is a huge lumbering behemoth that we don't have time to get into in this podcast today 'cause it's been 2 hours.
I'm
But
gonna be honest. I spaced out about 20 minutes ago when Hat started
That's
making
fair.
football references and had no idea what he was talking about.
it's it doesn't matter. It's not important. The point here is that the stability of physical sports versus the volatility of esports makes them fundamentally different products. Anyways, so Worlds, there are a couple rad games in the show notes if you want to check them out. If you want some high quality Highlander Hunter gameplay, Bank Yugi navigated a really nice game against Silvername. And then in addition, the final game of the tournament, Soul Demon Hunter versus OTK Demon Hunter. Super thrilling, super exciting, long game, really, really cool to watch. The community championships this upcoming weekend. If you want to watch them in English, which you probably do because we're an English language podcast, go to twitch.tv/TeamHeartLegends. That's going to be on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is standard at 4 o'clock Eastern. Sunday is Battlegrounds, 6 o'clock Eastern. And it's going to be a really cool event. There are some high-profile players from 8 different grassroots esports organizations from both North and Latin America that are competing. Really cool. Very excited to see. THL's going to take it, of course. Of course we are. Yes.
No, not Incho.
Okay. Tincho is playing and he's scary, and Ego Waffle is playing and he's scary.
Oh God, I
and
forgot. I go off this playing.
There are a lot of really, really strong players playing in both halves of the event. So check it out. Twitch.tv/TeamHeartLegends. And we're not going to do Decksplanations this week because we want to talk about Rogue, but we've already gone 2 hours and we're not going to go 3 hours, and I'm sleepy and hungry and we've got stuff to do. So we want to take the time to say thanks. Don't worry, we'll talk about Rogue next week, assuming they don't change more things. We should be here. I guess we're doing the show on Christmas Eve, by the way. I guess we're kind of doing that. None of us care.
Works for me.
Christmas isn't a thing for me.
Yeah. Same. Okay. We're doing the next show next week.
Christmas is Chinese food in a movie.
Okay,
I
that's
don't
a
know.
thing. That's a thing.
That is a thing. It's great.
I trust me. Yeah. Speaking of someone that was on the customer side of that interaction for a long time and is now on the employer or the proprietor interaction. It's the person that does the movies or did the movies. Yes, it's a thing. So we have many folks to like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at coinconcede.com. You can find our contact info, show notes, and Patreon information. Support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats and our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Right into our email, coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/coinconcede. So like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Tenor Wizard, Tony S, TK, Carhu, Pug Ugly, and Proby Wan. Also, big thanks to Baximus for the Twitch Prime sub during the show. Coin Concedes. Bodicus, hit me.
I would like to coin concede to Kresh, who is a listener of the show, and has been spectating me, keeping me company on my climb to Legend. So it's been nice having somebody kind of watch and talk about, and also commiserate when I get very unlucky, which happens. But also, yeah, it's just been fun to have somebody to be able to bounce plays off of, or tell him when I played really badly, because there were definitely some games that I played really badly.
And what about you, Edelweiss?
Coin concede to glory. Yeah, well done. Glory was my number 2 pick for Worlds this year, strictly because Japan. But unfortunately, there's no packs for your number 2 pick. They don't ask for your number 2 pick. But it was still a pleasant surprise when I did see the results.
Yeah, and I would like to coin concede to a few people. Luke and Tim at PC Gamer got me some quotes in an article that was published about the Hearthstone economy again. Like, I actually said I would like to get your quotes, and they interviewed me, and I'm a talking head in the article, right? It's kind of crazy. So I wasn't expecting that, but here we are. So thank you so much, Luke and Tim. And what else? Nikki P, they had a situation in a game that happened. They didn't get a replay, so they did an MS Paint recreation and posted in our Discord, and it was hilarious. Nikki, you're great. Thank you so much. And just people that were nice on Twitter. You know, it was put out a little vulnerability, and people were really understanding and receptive and kind. And so I liked that. That was great. So yeah. And, well, I guess that's going to be our show. So, keep calm. And don't worry, Rogue's coming. If you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.